Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today our special guest is Rob Rodriguez. Rob is the CEO and owner of REFF, spelled REFF LLC. Welcome to the show, Rob. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Otto, for inviting me over.
Of course, it's all my pleasure. So, as I was explaining to you before we hit the record button, I like to first start off with the audience to get to know you a little better as a person. Are you originally from this area, or where are you from?
Not at all. I was born and raised in Panama, which is the last country in Central America.
Okay. And you're from the capital there, right?
Correct, the city, yes.
Okay, the city, yes. And you were raised there through what age?
Yes, I was born and raised, and then I was 24 when I decided to leave the country. I completed all my education at that time as a computer engineer. Took me nearly 7 years altogether for 2 degrees together. Then after that, I mean, I wanted to leave to another country. My dream, as I share my story on the social media, was to go to Germany because I like the electronic and music, and then obviously the festivals that they were hosting there, along with the beer. But I couldn't find a sponsorship or connection to move to Germany. Then because I couldn't make it happen, then I said, well, maybe I should go to Yugoslavia, and I applied for a couple of scholarships and didn't happen. Then I had my grandfather, he had a friend from Spain originally that he immigrated to Panama. Then I talked to him, say, hey, see if you can help me out living in Panama, but he didn't even move a finger. So finally, um, I had a cousin that I grew up with, excuse me, and then he went back after 10 years when he finally got his uh, uh, citizenship in order. Then we connected, we sat down, and then he said, hey, why don't you go with me to New York? He was living in New York at the time. I said, sure. I mean, I can connect you to work on computer. Oh my goodness. It was like a dream coming through. Big city, New York, and all of that stuff. It's a big name. Don't ask me how I feel about New York nowadays, but anyway, the bottom line is, yes, we make some plans, and then I threw a party before I left. Then the very next day, right before I leave, he said, "Hey, don't call me because I'm not in New York." Shocker. Uh, then a week later, we reconnected again. He said, "Hey, I'm working for my father now. He owns a little kiosk in the middle of the mall. So if you want to come, here we are. I am in Maryland." So I say yes. I mean, why not? I wanted to leave anyway. So when I came, then I restarted from zero. Then I started working in the mall, selling incense, fragrances for
Where, I'm sorry, Rob, to interrupt. Where in Maryland was this?
It was in Anne Arundel Mills, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
the most popular um, mall in the area. So then I started working there for $7 an hour, and 20 hours a week. Then from there, I started working selling belts and buckles.
The same
Um,
kiosk.
the different kiosks right next
Oh,
to it.
different kiosk. Okay.
Uh, you know, and then I started selling jewelry cleaner um, for demonstration. A straight commission. A lot of times I went in, there was no money to be made, which is fine. And then I stayed like that for a couple years until I finally uh, was connected with a truck driver. He was actually making deliveries for Sears at the time as a subcontractor, so he needed a helper. So I connected with him, and then I started working for Sears, doing the deliveries for, I would say, about a year. Then I switched over to um, um, Home Depot, working for another contractor. Then after that,
For
I
for for all this, I'm sorry, Rob. You had a CDL license, right?
no,
No. Oh,
those trucks, the regulation states that up to 20 feet. 26 feet long, you can actually drive the truck with your regular license. So you
Okay.
don't need a CDL.
Okay.
So, and then from there, I needed a break after 2 years in the trucking industry. And then I went back to uh, working on computers for a little bit for another friend. You know, I didn't like it much. I was completely disconnected from computers. I said, nah, not interested.
Even though you study this in Panama, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I was making $12 an hour pulling cables. I said, you know what, this is not what I study. I was a bright kid, making codes, programs, whatever you want to call it. I said, no, this is not what I want to do. Then from there, I reconnected with the guy that was selling jewelry cleaners. Okay, and he called me again, and he said, hey, you want to work for me as a sub? Now I'm working for this commercial cleaning company, and we have opportunity to go and do pressure washing, a little bit of painting, a little bit of cleaning. I said, huh, okay, let me go there. So, excuse me. Then I went and worked over there, and that's when I learned how to do power washing that I really liked a lot at the time. Then I started doing a little bit of painting I didn't like. So, and carpet cleaning, all of that stuff. And then after 4 or 5 months, then I said, you know what? I can do this by myself. I didn't have any kids. I was not married. I save up just $11,000 for 2 weeks. I mean, for 2 years working on the trucks industry. It wasn't a lot, but that's what I had. So I went on my own. So all I had was just the willingness to work, and the wishes to do well. So I had this, listen to this, I had this Ford Pro 1994 two-door car. So what I had to do is I ripped out all the seats. This is the part that you didn't see online. I ripped out all the seats out of the car, and then I started putting all my equipment inside the car in that little
Two-door convertible.
two-door car. Yes, and I was so embarrassed, but I said, you know what, I gotta keep going. From there, I put together a flyer, went back to Home Depot to the parking lot, which is I find out it was totally illegal, but I didn't know. So I started putting flyers on people's windshield. I got my first call, and
From
I put
from that.
from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
And then I went to my first job. I
Rob,
wasn't there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm curious. When you did that with Home Depot and the flyers, did you get a call from that Home Depot location and say, "Hey, stop doing this" or anything like that?
No, but along the way, I find out that,
Okay, that was not good to
you
do.
do your research, you do your research. But I did get a call from the post office because I was putting it on the mailboxes as well. And
Oh,
the post
on them?
office,
Okay.
they called me and say, if we see one of your flyers again, we're gonna fine you. Yes, that was like scary. I said, oh my gosh, this is not my nature to be breaking the law, but it comes down to education.
But Rob,
So
now I get in my home and inside my mailbox, I get little things, business cards or flyers from all types of service providers.
yeah, if you don't use the post office services with the stamp and everything else, that's totally illegal.
Oh, so
You're
they
not.
want you to use their service, they get their fee, and then it can be delivered in a mailbox of someone's home.
It's all about money. Welcome to America.
Welcome to America. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned America. I want to go all the way back for a moment, back to Panama. As a child, I'm sure growing up there, you had aspirations and things you wanted to do, and you went into computer engineering, you mentioned?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, so it wasn't what you ended up doing here in America. How were you as a child growing up in Panama? What were you into? What did you like?
Um, well, there's a lot of story there because growing up, um, my parents were not getting along. This was just this war between
Hmm.
them. So I never had my mom and my dad under the same roof. It's a sad story, but it's not longer affecting me, by the way. So they never got along. They always hated each other. And I guarantee you, you know, all this time, I don't think they will be able to stay under the same roof in one room, even if it's just for celebration for me.
Mm-hmm.
So also, um, I was living under Noriega's regime, the dictator. I don't know if you ever heard about him or not. He's dying now, but in the 80s, we had a dictator, and there was a lot of turbulence in the area because he was supposedly a drug dealer. And then Noriega also, he was working for the United States as a snitch or the DEA. Then apparently he betrayed the US, and then he became one of the top most wanted person. And then the Americans invaded Panama at the time, and I was living in the war situation basically because I mean I got to see and hear the explosions and the bullets in the country when the troops put the boots on ground. It was
Wow.
all. I was 12 years old. I remember still, overlooking my street with my dad and a little machete and all nine just watching because we didn't want to get killed.
Sure.
So, and watching for Noriega's people, we were happy that the Americans were there. Then after we passed that, I mean, we didn't have much. I mean, growing up, um, my parents, they didn't have much money. Even as of today, my mom, as a retired architect, she only makes $400 a month. That's it.
Back in Panama.
Yes, it's
Yes.
hard. And
Were
I
you
always,
living with both parents? You mentioned there was a lot of clashing between mom and dad.
correct. I
Okay.
lived with my mom until she was not, until I was 9 years old. Then I say, hey, I wanted to live with my dad because she remarried and then had other kids. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was not fitting in. So I went to live with my dad, but then my dad was living with my grandmother and my grandfather. And basically, I was raised by my grandparents because my dad was always working or traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the money was very tight, but I had what I needed, lots of love. And, eventually, when I was 14 years old, I wanted nice clothes. I always wanted nice stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I was not getting it from my dad. So and I started working as a DJ helper. So, but the DJ speakers at the time, they were huge. They were made out of plywood and 2x4s. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about. But they were huge. They were not these compact speakers anymore. Huge. And then I started carrying those around for $5 a night. $5 a night. Unbelievable. And then I started working at 14 years old all the way until I left, almost until I left Panama, you know. Um, and then from there, I was gathering money and then spending
Sure.
money on clothes, basically, because that's what I wanted. And then also at the same time, I was taking my education, and I always wanted computers. Always loved computer. Always.
And this was, do you remember around what year you entered college back in Panama?
Yes, absolutely. I finished high school in 1993. Then I went to a private intense course in 1994. I completed that as a computer programmer, 1 year intense, all coding. Then from there, 1995, I joined the university. I studied 3, 4 years
Okay.
on technician for coding, intense coding. Then I got my associate's degree there. And then from there, I got the other 2, 3 years on the bachelor's degree. And obviously, I was working at the same time on computer. The last 2.5 years, that's when I was able to work on computers in Panama. I was a bright kid on computer, not to be bragging, but I mean, I did what I had to do.
So I'm sure your goal was to come to whatever country that would take
Germany.
you, which in the end was America, and hopefully work in something with what you did, computers, correct?
That is correct. I wanted to be, and this is where it gets funny because I put the energy out there. I say, I want to be somebody important working into this big corporation to do an important job. But that important job in my dreams and my mind was computer. And today is a reality because I'm going into these big corporations to do an important job. And a lot of times I do get recognized, but not on computers as a team. Unbelievable.
Yes, yes. So you arrived to America at 24 years old, right?
Yes, that's correct.
If you can go back there for a moment, Rob, and just sort of how was that experience once you land here? And as far as what you expected, what not to expect, I understand you just had that friend here in Maryland who connected you with the first job with that kiosk in Around the Mills Mall,
Right,
which I'm familiar in Hanover, Maryland. And
right.
so once you arrived here, how was your train of thought? What were you thinking?
At that time, I felt happy for a short period of time. You know, that was the first time I was getting on a plane ever, ever. Never left the country, never went anywhere. So, and I was happy. I was scared as well. I was sad at times. But the first week, I was really happy to see how everything is different. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful, you know. But then you started to realize, hey, I just got here back in Panama. I was wearing suits, tight. I was making good money. I had a brand new house, even though I was living with my dad and his wife, his new wife. I was living in a brand new house. I got a brand new car. Here, when I got here, I was sleeping on the floor. Believe it or not, I was sleeping on the floor next to the kitchen, paying rent, all of that stuff. I didn't have a car, didn't speak any English. I didn't have my citizenship in order. There's not secret, nothing to be embarrassed. It was in the past, and didn't have my friends, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was actually hard. And then for the holidays, I mean, I found myself sad and crying and frustrated because didn't have the freedom I used to have, even though this is the land of the free, but not for everybody. I was not free here. I was basically limited from freedom, basically. So,
Yeah. It's a similar story. It just reminds me, my dad immigrated to America, I think at 21, 22. He was in dental school in Nicaragua, and it was a communist regime. So it's the communist regime in my country is called the Sandinistas, and they
yeah,
were overthrowing the dictator. And they wanted to send him to the mountains to fight, but my grandfather knew he might not come back from the mountains when at least not alive. So that's when we decided to think of America, and he had to leave dental school, and he came here at 22. Again, not to know, he wasn't sure what he was expecting, and same thing, he just lived. And then my mother and I eventually came here, and we just lived in a one room, one bedroom, the three of us for a moment there. But it's not easy when you're starting from nothing in a new country and you don't know the language and not many people.
absolutely. And I think the biggest part of this initial journey, it was just feeling secure and safety and stability, more like it. Yes, the money was made. It wasn't a lot compared to what I make right now. But the bottom line is having a roof over my head was a challenge because I was always sleeping on the floor, and it took me nearly 2 years or 2.5 years to have a roof over my head that I could say, hey, I can pay for this, and I could have a bed. I found myself sleeping on excuse me, an apartment where it was an apartment with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. You ready for this? We were 13 people sleeping on the floor. Not kidding. 13 people. And that was just one time. Another time, I was in Columbia, Maryland. We were in an apartment, two-bedroom apartment, one bathroom, and we were six people, all sleeping on the floor. And some of us made it, some others they just went back and quit. I never did. I was always a fighter, always a
Yeah.
fighter. But the living situation absolutely played a lot with it, and it pushed me through and say, well, you want stability, you gotta do something, gotta keep looking, gotta keep working hard, and whatever you do it best. That's
Yeah.
it.
You always have to remember those humble times. Same thing. Even now I still remember. It was clear. We lived in. I grew up in D.C. in Washington D.C. and we were living in a one bedroom, one bath apartment. All family, uncles, my parents, my little brother, and six of us in a one bedroom, one bath apartment in DC. But and I remember, and it was like that for the longest time, and it felt so natural though to me growing up because it's my uncle, my other uncle, my parents. It was family, but you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, living like that in a tight space and with family is different than be living with people that you just met and they're from even another country because
That's
the
true.
majority of them were from Venezuela.
Okay.
They have a different culture, and I was not fitting in, but I was not intimidated, and I earned my respect basically.
That's
And
good.
as of today, they look up to me and say, "Man, good job." That's
That's
it.
good. So let's fast forward again. We were talking about your with the post office, and they told you not to do that when you were just starting your company. Um,
Right.
mhm.
So I did my first job with that Full Pro 1994 to door. I was embarrassed, but I started realizing quickly. I said, hey, I can't do this because if I was a homeowner and I want to hire a company, I'm expecting a van with a nice banner around, somebody professional, not someone to not to be the meaningful, but I will be concerned if somebody pulls in a car that is all beat up and putting equipment out of the car. I say, hey, this is my home. What's going on here? So then I realized I need to do something and fast. So I borrow a pickup truck with one of those hard lid on the back on the bed. So I borrowed that. I went to my second job with that. But again, I didn't like it. I was embarrassed of the pickup truck. I hated it. So I said, okay, I do this job, and then after this, I think I'm gonna buy a van. But the money was not there, so I bought this van. I remember it was full of rust on the outside. The floor where you drive, there was a hole in there that if you pump the brakes too hard, you will be scraping the bottom of your feet on the highway. I mean, you name it. I don't know how that van passes an inspection. And then I put a tank in there, and every time I had a little bit of water, the van was going side by side, on the road. It was just not safe. And I said, for the longest time, I said, I am embarrassed, but it was a van. So what I did was I bought a little bit of spray and sprayed the spot and put some letters in there. I have to share the pictures so you can see the van. I still have it somewhere around. So it was awful. Then from there, I tried many different advertising things. It was hard. I had to take a step back on 2006 at the beginning. I was not getting a lot of jobs, but that first year I only made $17,000 for that first year of operation. I mean, it's just ew.
And back then, Rob, most of your jobs were painting people's homes, or what were you doing that first year?
At that time, I was doing a lot of power washing and a lot of carpet cleaning. I hated it painting, to be honest
Okay.
with you. I didn't like it. I was not interested. Um, but I was doing homes. That's what I could do. But then over time, the business was getting redesigned, 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 studying the data, money, I was using my computer background, this is what
Sure.
I do, study, study, study. So I got to realize that if I started doing painting, then I can have people working for me, even on the power washing, but painting, I can send them out to work and then you put into make money for me. And that was the formula. Every job, that was my formula. Every job, I can only give them my 100%. But if one job and I put multiple workers, I can give them the 100% of each work. That was my formula at that time. So, and it made total sense because then you can enter into leverage. So
Yes.
from there, the business changed to painting mainly, less power washing. And then on the painting, we started painting on the inside, some on the outside. Then quickly realized I changed it again. We only want to paint on the outside because there was too much competition painting inside, more people getting laid off at the peak of the economy depression, and they wanted to grab a ladder and oh, I am a painter, and start painting on the inside. On the outside, there was more money, more risk, less competition. So, and then that's how I went getting detached from the large population of vendors and contractors. Then from there, we went through a patch on the economy, got really bad. So uh, I took a hit just like everybody else. But then finally in 2010, I landed a big job on the warehouse. They wanted me to do a small area. I remember was $20,000. $20,000 at the time, it was a lot of money. Right now, it's just like, hey, man, whatever. Uh, so we did a small area. And then from there, they said, well, we are ready for you to do the rest of the plan. And so they gave me $100,000 contract. And then they gave me another $288,000 contract, two warehouses back to back. So by the time we finished painting those two warehouses, I mean, I was already showing on the map for Sherwin-Williams. You know, I was already changing my line from houses to industrial, and it took me another year or two doing houses and warehouses, but mainly warehouses, until finally say, you know what, I'm not doing houses anymore. And that's it. That's where we are today. Now I'm changing the business again from doing warehouses and painting. I say we want to do power washing. Now we're focusing on a smaller money, but bulk, basically volume. We want volume.
Okay.
I mean, but cleaning, volume, volume, volume. Because I find out that there's probably more profit like that than painting with larger projects.
Okay.
Uh,
Why do you say there's more margin there as far as power washing and just do more of them, more volume compared to the painting aspect of it, which you can do, I guess, less jobs and you have a bigger amount, right?
Yeah, you would think that, but honestly, there's more money on the power washing for us based upon the equipment that we have. You get it done quicker. You don't use hardly any material. You don't have to worry about spending a lot of time on the labor, you know, paying attention to the details,
Uh,
preparation. You just come clean and get out. And then the beauty of that is you have multiple locations and you repeat the business every time. Repeat, repeat, repeat versus a painting job. Somebody can call us and say, hey, paint the ceiling. Okay, I can tell them, okay, give me $100,000 just to pick a number. But then we never get to paint the ceiling again,
is
ever.
it,
But then from there, you have a lot of paint to spend, a lot of surface preparation to do. You got to protect their equipment, more liability, more time, etc., 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 etc. By the time I finish doing the ceiling, it's just like, you know what, I can't do this.
and you mentioned you don't have that repeat business possibility, not as
And
often compared to power wash, right?
correct. Not for the same task, but for the customers that we have, they call us all the time for maintenance. They know the ceiling, they need the machine, they have pipings, they have tanks, they have many different things. So they can't do it all because for budget, but they always are going to be repeat businesses, but for different tasks, if it
Rob,
makes sense.
the residential compared to the commercial customer, it's totally different.
Yes.
I'm curious, how was the transition for you? And I know it was a period of 2 years you mentioned to sort of leave the residential side and go to the full 100% to commercial, as far as the different customer, the different type of marketing or advertising? How would you go about establishing that commercial customer base compared to residential?
Um, we were actually targeting this, whether it was emails or Google. Mainly it was Google, where we actually were out, put together the campaign on Google. Uh, Again, we used my computer knowledge to set up the campaign. There was not a lot of competition at the time. I'm talking about before 2012. I was pretty much dominating the market, not to sound cocky, but the minute you put in commercial painters, my website was popping 3 or 4 times on the first page.
Oh, wow. 3 or 4 times on the first page.
On the first page, whether it was the map, the paint, and the organic, and all of that stuff, I was just showing all over the place because the algorithm was different at the time for Google.
Sure.
So all of that stuff, I was just building my clientele, and I was just focused on targeting commercial industrial jobs. Then after 2012, then I started seeing the changes on Google, and it was less, more money until I finally say, hey, no more with Google. I was depending on Google for a long time, but I built my customer base now that I don't advertise with Google anymore.
Okay, so that's no longer needed. So you would do Google ads, and that's how you would be placing or ranking higher on that first page back then.
Absolutely, that's one of the venues, and then also um, I did the postcard mailing. There's this website that you put together your postcard, oversized postcard thing, put your credentials, photos, and I bought a database with nearly 5,800 warehouses in addresses, and then I sent them over, and I was able to open couple accounts like that.
Okay.
So I did it that way, and it worked for me. It hasn't worked anymore, but I did it. I opened a couple accounts, and I keep cashing in on that. That was another way to do it.
Are you still using that form of marketing, or have you stopped
Yeah,
that?
I tried recently, but I haven't got a call from that. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or people just hate postcards all along. They probably
Mhm.
do. Who knows? But yeah, I haven't got any return from that anymore.
Okay. So
Yeah,
as far as now, though, are you doing any type of marketing or advertising for the business, or?
very, very little. The efforts that we do is we using LinkedIn. We find out that there's not a lot of competition on LinkedIn. Uh, how is that possible? Okay, well, in my area, so the people that are friends or connected with other professionals in the area, they're only gonna be looking their own markets. Okay, I am almost 100% sure that the people I target are not the same as the other painters. The other painters, they're probably house painters. Who knows? Some others, they could be commercial painters that they are targeting other positions within a company. Personally, we're looking for plant managers. We're looking for commercial real estate, like you, Otto. We're looking for facility engineer, etc. And that's what we're targeting. So we get connected, and then we don't bother anybody, but we definitely put together the jobs that we do before and after. And people get to see that, and they like us. Say, hey, we have a lot going on right now. They see if they need something, they call us. We don't bother anybody. They know they need the job done, so they have to call somebody. And that's
I,
what I do.
I, I, I love this, Robin. And I think that's how we originally got connected, was through LinkedIn. And I believe you're doing a great job.
Yes, thank
So your method was, let me just connect you as a person, your personal account, right?
you. Correct.
Let me just connect to these individuals who I think may be a referral source, or maybe they'll need us one day, and just connect with them. And then I'm going to continue to post in my account what I'm doing. And maybe I'll show up on their feed. And then maybe
Correct.
one day they're like, oh, I need power washing for this commercial warehouse. I remember Rob and the last post he did, and then contact Rob.
Absolutely. And believe it or not, I have earned new customers, and some of the customers that I have, they call us back, and it's been working, and it's incredible. And now I hire a company just yesterday. We closed the deal, and they're gonna be doing some campaigns, some advertising on LinkedIn. We're gonna be targeting something else, and we're gonna take it to the next level. So now I came up with budget and a professional that is focusing on that. I'm not a professional on LinkedIn, but I have the basics, which is we need to target our market. That's
Okay.
it.
That's good. I hear LinkedIn though, as far as advertising compared to some other social media platforms like Facebook or other ones, Instagram, it's very pricey from my understanding. So I hope it works. I'll be curious to find out later after the project starts and seeing the results you're getting.
Uh, I am very confident it's going to work, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if I already told you that I was able to get jobs from the advertising that I have been doing on my own by just posting my jobs, and I didn't have a professional dedicated to do that, and I have been able to land jobs from that. I mean, chances are that if I hire somebody professional to do that, I'm gonna be cashing in on that.
Yes.
There's no question about it. I tried Facebook. I can tell you all about it. I tried Facebook, but Facebook, for what I can see, is more on the focus on the residential side of it. For commercial, never got a call from somebody say, "Hey, I saw your ads in there. Can you give me a pricing?" Same thing for uh, um, Instagram and or Twitter. I mean, people, that's just for branding. Hey,
Hmm.
we are here. We're still active. We let you see the before and after, but nobody call us from that, and that's fine. I'm pretty sure other people, if they're trying to sell things for houses or person to person, yeah, that may work, but not for my company. We're very specialized on what we do.
Rob, for the commercial side, do you remember when did you sort of started getting more serious on LinkedIn and saying, okay, let me actively just try to post more or do something? And
Last year,
when?
last year, last
Last
year.
year. Okay. Around COVID, before COVID?
A little before COVID, yes,
Okay.
because I was gonna hire this company. I was gonna hire this company before COVID, but then we set up and everything, and right when COVID hit, then I stopped. I said I can't do this because I'm not
Sure.
gonna do any advertising in the middle of a pandemic. We don't know what's gonna happen. So I called him back a year later and said, "Hey, we're ready."
So before last year, I want the audience to know the results or how's it going for you. So before last year, when you weren't, how often were you going on LinkedIn? Did you even go there at all? How was your usage?
Um, I think before 2019, like before the middle of 2019, I was going on and off. I was not interested. But then the second half of the year, I say, hey, I need to be active on LinkedIn as well because I have some connections also. And these are all platforms that we underestimate. We don't know what's going to give the results. We really don't. As a business owner, one basic rule that everybody has to have is you need to give it a try. Don't be afraid of failing. Give it a try. Don't be afraid of failing because there's no such thing as failing. You learn from it and you don't do it anymore. But if you're successful, bingo, there you go. You keep on trying and
So
grow it from there.
I love that. So you started posting more on LinkedIn and now what you do it how often? And this is you
Uh,
posting, right? No one is doing it for you.
Nobody else is doing it for me. Every time we get a job completed, I, most of the time we post it. Sometimes I divide it in stages where I say, hey, we had the preparation done. If I want to talk about just this topic, surface preparation, for instance, then I grab that material, post it in there. If not, I just wait until the project has been completed, whether it's 3 days or a week or 2 weeks later. And then that's when I post the photos from before and after. That's what I'm focused the most because I mean that's what I like. Hey, this is how it was, all beat up and dirty, and this is how it looks. Great and wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was your own idea as far as before and after, or maybe you can also use that in residential before. You were just now implementing it on the commercial side.
No, no, no. I was doing it also on the houses as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was doing it on the houses as well. But I mean that idea is not new. I've been doing it for years. Uh, it, it, I might be wrong, but I'm under the impression that if you post something once it's done, people are gonna say, "Oh, it looks nice," but they had no idea how it looks.
Yeah.
You don't know how it got there. Somebody could have just bought that picture online and put it in there. Oh, this is who we are, and it happens when a new website is being developed. We don't know that, but instead, if you put in my guy, my truck with the company logo and everything, this is how it looks. Ugly, beat up, and rusted out, and this is how it looks with the truck, with the worker, wonderful and great. Then I say, okay, they did it, no doubt.
This is a great example, and I have clients who are in sort of that type of work, whether it's painting, you name it,
Right.
construction, window, whatever it may be. And I just think LinkedIn is such an untapped market, especially for if you want to do business to business, B2B commercial. You want to start doing that commercial business, and I think you're doing a fantastic job in
Yeah.
showing before and after, and that helps tremendously.
Yes, thank you, Otto. But absolutely, it does help. I do it on my website. I have done this for so many years. We tackle Google really hard now. We don't mess with Google anymore. Um, but we're definitely chasing now LinkedIn, and I know that that market is still virgin. People focus probably like you probably have more competition than I do in my industry because for, for, for for what I see is there's different levels of contractors. Okay, so the contractors that are on the housing market, there are others that the super big contractors that they do bridges, elevated tanks, and all of that stuff. Then also there are the commercial ones that they focus only on brand new construction. They already have their niche established.
Mhm.
But we are in the middle where we do all industrial, all commercial, but we can go either bigger or we can go smaller within that range. You
Mhm.
know, we don't have a lot of competition there. We don't have a lot of competition.
And now you post how often? Maybe once a week, twice a week? What do you think is the frequency?
Um, Probably twice a week.
Okay.
We don't want also to oversaturate the posting and as we complete the jobs, we
That's
post
when
a
you
little
post.
bit
Okay.
later. Yeah,
Okay.
we have multiple crews. And I try not to post the same thing over and over. I have nearly 5,000 photos that I can be playing around with
Hmm.
and always keep the people busy. But do I have the time for that? I really don't. Maybe I need a different routine where I post every morning before I leave or come up with something. I can always keep people occupied and let them see before and after. I mean, I have pictures way back from 2009. They're still looking good. But I don't know if that will be necessarily. I'll
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah. That's good. I think that that's me personally helped me in my business as far as, before I would do a lot of more sometimes cold calling for people, instead of flyers just on the phone. And it's just another way of prospecting or marketing as far as if you do it through social media platforms like LinkedIn. I'm curious, Rob, if you want to share, if you can, before last year, before you got serious on LinkedIn, you were doing $0 on LinkedIn, right?
Right.
Now, can you give us an idea as far as roughly how much business you've earned through LinkedIn?
Yeah. In the last 6 months, I think I was telling my wife I already cashed in 30 grand from that.
In just 6 months, just the last 6 months.
Yeah. Yes, I have this company. I remember they are called All Castle Precast. Okay, and we did a job for them probably 2 years ago, we don't bother them, we don't call them. And then he saw that we did my garage, my house garage floor with the flakes and everything, all of that stuff. I mean, this is a house job, but that was my house. Then he remembers, hey, my locker room looks like crap. I need that floor. Then he calls, hey, Rob, I seen that you posting on LinkedIn. I saw the before and after. We want to do the same thing for my locker room. $17,000. Boom, right there. And then another guy, brand new customer. He is a builder, but he actually does subcontracting work as well. So he's seeing my posting in there. He pick up the phone and say, "Hey Rob, I got some customers that they may need your services, but you will be working for me. Why don't we take a look at these jobs?" We went there, two jobs already. One, if I'm not mistaken, was for um, 9 grand, and the other one was for nearly $5,000, something like that. So right there, those are the ones that we actually booking for May.
I love
Yeah,
it. LinkedIn
yeah,
works.
I love it. I simply like it. I love it. So I mean, now I'm just thinking, well, I was always in my own little bubble, like, oh my gosh, my business depends on Google. What would I do if I don't have Google anymore? Guess what? I'm still in business.
Yeah, I'm going to have to tell all of my clients who do, whether HVAC, plumbing, commercial, residential, doesn't matter, painting, windows, siding, this is a must listen episode. And because a lot of people are missing out on the power of LinkedIn and if done properly.
Yes, vistaprint.com if you want me to get into more depth for advertising. Vistaprint.com, you put together your business card, your oversized postcard. They actually sell you the database. And if there are people that work in a small zip code, they can buy everything from that zip code, put together the advertising material and mail it. They'll mail everything for you and
You don't
give it
even
a
touch
try.
it.
You don't even touch it. Just try. They do everything for you. Vistaprint is great. You just need to know how to work it. Another way to work is um, constant.
Constant
Actually,
contact.
yes. People buy the database. I know who sell the database. You can send emails, but normally the contractors or the business owners do not have a lot of time to be putting material together. But that's an option right there.
Do you do
Doing
that yourself?
No, never
Okay.
did.
Okay. The email
I,
blast, you
I,
didn't.
I don't
Okay.
like it. I mean, I used to send an email at the beginning of the season and at the end, hey, we're here if you need any service. But
Sure.
honestly, I'm doing less and less and less. If I bring somebody on board, I probably will be making more money, but maybe I'm getting tired more. Who knows? Uh,
Come on, you're still young, Rob.
yes, texting. Let me tell you, I always ask for cell phone numbers. Always. I don't get like, hey, what's your number? I say, okay, here's my number. But then I ask them, is that a work number or cell phone number? Oh, work number. Let me have your cell phone, please. And then they give you your cell phone. I don't send bogus text messages, but from time to time, hey, I just wanted to check in. How's everything? They don't get offended. They don't get mad over that or say, hey, I just wanted to check in and see if you have any projects coming. That's it. And they'll keep you in mind. Okay,
Yes.
let me know. You can do that maybe once a month or every 2 months. That's another way to stay connected with people. The referrals is still the best way to grow the business. I mean, I have been told many times now, this is the time after 16 years when I can see that it's paying off, the referrals. Nothing
16 years being in the business. Now you're seeing it more.
Now I see it more. Yes. I mean, it took that long, but now I see it more. Another way to advertising is on Facebook. I try paying Facebook, but I do the posting on my business page and then reshare it on my personal stuff, so you get more exposure as well. Not depending on whoever gave like to your page. So I do it double. Instagram, I do some sharing in there as well. What other thing I do? I don't do Google directly now, I have a company that they do SEO. I'm doing a little bit of SEO, just putting a little money there, $250 a month. You know, it may be generating some businesses there, but I'm just doing a little something. Let them work, see what happens. You know, every time the algorithm changes, then they'll let me know, hey, time to do some changes on your website. Otherwise, I'm gonna get cut off from Google completely. So
The changes on your website, are they doing it also, or are you doing that yourself or
yeah,
someone else?
they are.
They are. Okay.
Google Google so often they change the algorithm. And if you're
Okay.
not current, if you're not updated, they will put you in the sandbox basically. And what that means, whoever has the newest version to comply with their algorithm, those are the ones that are gonna be popping on top, along with the paying advertisers as well. Um, and those that they are not updated, then they get pushed down.
Okay.
That's the way it is,
So that they also do any tweaks and changes to your website, that same SEO company.
as needed.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
as
great. I was just talking to, I had a guy and his crew come do some painting work at my home in the basement. Great work, great price. We hit it off. And most of his business is word of mouth. And I was like, fantastic. I'm like, do you do any? He doesn't even have a website, no website. And I'm like, his name is Alex. I'm like, Alex, a website. You know how much business people get off of Facebook or some of these community pages? Because a lot of his work, he does some commercial, but most of his work is residential. And I was like, my wife finds this person through some Facebook pages, from some association, some community. And I'm like, you don't do anything. He's like, no, it's just referral. Great guy. But I was like, a lot of people in sort of the blue collar work are just missing out on a ton out there.
yes, and I can tell you what the problem is. They're still working in the field. If you're still working in the field and in the office, you're not gonna make it. You have to get attached from them. That's the hardest part ever. You have to run the business from your office if you want to grow. Period.
So work not in the business every day, but on the business as well, and see how you can grow it.
Correct. Absolutely. And it's a process. It takes years. It takes years. I think it takes probably 5 years to get off the field if you work hard and if you manage the business well. It may take you 5 years to get to the point like, hey, I have people to work under me. I just gonna manage the business. Then it changes to I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna supervise, but then also I'm just gonna do the office work. Then more years, maybe another 5 years to get to the point like, okay, I'm gonna have a foreman or supervisor. Then I have different tier of control. Then you add in safety. Then you may bring a sales rep. I should have a sales rep by now, but based upon my calculation, having a sales rep involved in here probably will cost me $150,000 a year. So I don't know if I'm ready for that or not.
Speaking of the team and the growth, how does your team look like now, as far as, people you have in the office, admin, or people you have out in the field and actually doing the work?
Yes, we this is a mind blowing, and I'm gonna say this. A lot of people don't know about my company, but we are a 24-hour operation. Believe it or not, I have one crew at night, where sometimes there's one guy, sometimes there's a crew of two for the night shift. He is dedicated to do anything pertaining the night shift, but mainly power washing. Then we have another crew for another client. There's two guys in there working Monday through Friday. They are the headquarters of the Adventist Church, General Conference of Seventh Day Adventist Church. So they do a lot of renovation constantly there. So there's always two guys there. And then the main crew, which is a crew of four, four guys that they do painting, power washing, sandblasting, and they work during the day as well. So that's why I have it separated in three different groups. Sometimes we are four groups, but mainly three.
So you have a total of around, what, 10 people or so?
We are 4 to 8
Okay.
plus me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're the one handling all the office, all the admin. So,
Yeah,
okay, I understand.
absolutely. And I'm always behind work, which is good. But
Speak,
we get it done. We get it done.
yeah. Speaking of the night, I remember the one of the recent posts, the work you did over with Aldi, the power washing at night.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that one. It was great.
Yeah. I always tell my workers, don't send me a picture just a spot or just the wall. Make sure you put the trucks, make sure you put the boom lift, the pressure washer, something that looks complicated and hard. Don't show them just the wall after you clean them. Take different pictures, 10, 20 if you want. Send them over to me. I will classify them. But make sure you, even if you have a worker, combs, the heavy equipment, that's all we have them for. People got to realize, oh my God, that job is not easy because how did it get done?
Yeah,
Right?
with
Show
the
them.
cherry picker and everything. Yes,
Got to think about everything.
now some of your customers. I mentioned Aldi, but you have a lot of national, international brands and companies that you've done work with, right?
Yeah, I can mention a couple that I know on top of my head, but we have Aldi is the best customer we have. We have also a general conference of seventh day, which is the headquarters for the Adventist Church. So we do have Coca-Cola, we do have Under Armour, we do have Amazon. Amazon has been bombarding us with jobs almost every month. We do have JAL, General Motors. We have Alvin Cats. We have the train company CSX. I mean, you name it. The list just keep on going, keep on going. Yes.
That's great. We were talking about your team just now, Rob, and I know sometimes in certain industries, hiring the right team, talent, it's not easy, it's difficult. How do you go about, especially when it's a labor intensive job, how do you go about finding your team? How is that?
Uh, Back to the same concept of advertising and operation referrals. Who do you know? Just
Okay.
tell me uh, who do you think is a candidate, and then I do the interview. Hey, tell me. You say you know how to paint. Okay, tell me what do you know? A, B, and C, and then I said, okay, well, if you come on board, I can train you. Um, but definitely, there's a lot of teaching, and I tell my workers, this is where you learn. Okay, this is where you graduate. You do it right, and then from there, if you find another company that pays you more, that's fine. But this is where you learn. This is your school. We're going to teach you how to do things right.
That's great. What would you say drives you and motivates you now?
My family, stability, and what I tell my wife, it's just keeping up with the balance. Uh, at this point, the things I do is about connecting with people, bonding with people. If I'm not bonded, I don't do anything. Uh, I need to make sure that I cover all my needs, and the main need is just having that balance, health, time for family, time for just one of my daughters individually at time for my all daughters together, time just for my wife and me, time for myself alone, time with my fishing buddy as well. So make sure I have time for everything so I'm well balanced. Regardless, the income um, is all about having the right balance. And right now, I feel like I am very much well balanced.
Would you say that's the biggest challenge to balance, or what would you say is the biggest challenge for you and your company right now?
It's having the balance.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not well balanced, I mean, you're just gonna be working. You don't put your
Hmm.
heart and your efforts into it. You have to feel balanced completely, and then you got to work.
Yeah, that's good.
Then you have to work. I mean, it's hard to tell customers and say, hey, I get stressed because people sometimes the customer they come on top of each other, they schedule. But if you don't have the bonding with them, if you don't have the right communication with them, how are you going to manage the situation when you tell them, hey, do you think I can get extra time to do your work later? at another time, or you say, hey, could you please help me out with the schedule a little bit? Those kind of things. Because if you're not connected with them properly, they're gonna say, no, nobody else is more important than me. I want this done. I'm not gonna wait. So
Mhm.
then what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? It's tough. That's what I'm saying. You have to be well balanced so you can have the right mind frame and having the right communication with them to handle the situation. And there's many different cases that I can mention, but it's all about balance, connection, good energy.
Coming to an end here soon, Rob, what advice would you give someone who wanted to start a similar company, power washing or painting or anything like that? What one or two things you would suggest to that person to do?
Don't do it. I don't want more competition.
Maybe they're not here. Maybe they're not American. Maybe they're in Florida, Texas, wherever, Chicago.
I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time. Hey, I will say, just do it right. Do the right thing. Never give up. Do the right thing. Never give up. I mean,
Do the right thing for your customer.
for your customer, yes.
Okay.
Do the right thing for your customer. Do the right thing for yourself. Punch your number properly. So what does that mean? When you put a bid for jobs, make sure that you know what is your expected profit. If you don't know that, don't put a price out there just because. You need to know what is your expected profit. Otherwise, you will fail. You will be working, 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 but then at the end of the day, hey, I don't have money. What happened? Then the IRS come, hey, you owe us $30,000. Then here you are on tears. Where's all the money? I much
Mhm.
rather go back and work for somebody else. It doesn't make any sense. You gotta know your numbers, do it right. Have all your licensing in place, respect your customers as well, and find the right bonding move with them. It's not about just the money part. Money is important, but if you don't bond with your customer, you're not gonna get jobs.
The relationship is important.
Their relationship. That's what I meant. Bonding
Yeah,
relationship with customers.
I agree. What does the future hold for you and REFF? What maybe the next couple of years?
That's a tough question. I'm not gonna tell you. Um, I want to make 5 millions a year. I've been saying it for a while. At the very minimum, my dream will be 17 millions. Everybody has their own goals, but that's just a number. It could be more, it could be less, who knows? But here I am sitting at my 44 years old. I say, hey, yes, money is important, but I want to maintain my balance. I want to continue working, continue doing what I've been doing, and I'm preparing for my retirement as well. Keep that in mind little by little, every move we make, my wife and myself preparing for 20 years from now, what is best for us. That's simple.
What are you doing now to prepare for that retirement that you mentioned?
Uh, we're putting a little bit on 401k. We keep
Okay,
buying houses, little.
sure.
Um, you know, we live in a way that we buy the things that we need. We don't need to be flashy. We don't need to be spending $150 on a t-shirt. That
Yeah.
is not necessarily, it gives you the same appearance. Same thing for the car. Uh, we buy cars, but it doesn't have to be brand new, 0 miles. We buy fairly new cars, and all of that stuff is gonna keep adding up. We don't maintain personal credit cards because we don't pay fees and all of that stuff. And little tricks like that, helps
Hmm.
a lot with the finances.
Rob, when you're not busy working at the company and with the family, what do you like to do in your free time for fun? If you have
Fishing,
any free time,
fishing,
fishing. Okay.
fishing. I'm into fishing big time right now, so I got to enjoy my toy and say, hey, I check with my wife and say, hey, do you need help with the baby? If not, then okay, goodbye. I'm going out fishing.
That's just your
Yeah.
time to relax, to be on your own.
Yes, absolutely. I relax. I spend time with my fishing friend, and if not, I love watching TV. Netflix or even HBO Max. I love it, just resting. I gotta rest and enjoy the shows.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
I
Resting
spend
is
time
important.
quality. I spend quality time with my daughter, each one of them individually or all three of them together,
Oh,
making
three
sure that
girls.
three girls.
Lucky
Keep
man.
that. I don't know what I did to the circle.
I did the opposite. I hit three boys.
Ouch. Well, hey, we can marry them. That's not a problem. So yeah, it's just making sure that we have time for the whole family together, just my wife and me, just individually with each one of them as well, making sure that everything is balanced. It's all about balance.
Great. Rob, if people want to get to know you more, reach out to you and your company, what's the best way or website they can get in touch with you?
They can call me directly. Hey, look, even if we're not friends or never spoken to them, but they can use your name and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast audio. I love to help people, especially new business owner, and say, hey, what can I do to grow? Try this, try that. I mean, there's no secret. You don't have to be a super smart person. I always like to help others. You always come back positive. Same for my workers. Treat them with respect, help them in the best way you can, put them first. They can call me at 410-903-1736, or they can shoot me an email to rob@reff services.com, and they can ask me any question. I always make time for everything and helping a colleague.
Great. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Otto, for giving me the opportunity, and we stay connected. Okay.
Yes, definitely. All my pleasure. Take care.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.